Welcome to the Founder Hotline. I'm Ruben, I'm your host of today, and this podcast is basically like listening to my voice notes that I would usually send to founder friends. Until one of those friends said, Yo, this is fun, but you should really stop sending me 30-minute voice notes. And that's why I founded this podcast to talk about the stuff that a founder goes through and update you a little on what is happening in my own little business. For today, I decided to invite Brooke into the call. I met Brooke a month ago, I think it is now, on a little retreat in Germany together with the AJ and Smart team. And we have a lot of fun talking. So I thought, why not put her on the podcast with me? Hey, Brooke.
Hey, Ruben, how's it going?
It's going great. I've had such a crazy week with a lot of AI stuff going on as well, and a lot of building, a lot of doing the right stuff. I think so. It's the perfect moment to record something like this, and more so on AI. I think. How are you going?
Pretty good. I'm curious. Okay, I'm curious to hear more. So I've gotten to, I know that this is what we're going to talk about, but I don't really know how you're using it or what you're doing. So I'd love to hear your take on the AI. Like, how are you using it in your business this past week? What kind of AI are you using it? And how are you using it, if that makes sense?
Yeah, 100%. That's a lot of questions. I
Pick
think
whichever one you want.
I will. Uh, I think on the AI thing, like what sparked my idea to talk about this one today is I was in the beginning when I was using AI, I was building a lot of stuff and a lot of like tools and like physical stuff that you could see. And then after a while, I realized that a lot of the stuff that I was building didn't really help my business. And then earlier this week, I heard a podcast. It was actually Jonathan Courtney who talked about this on how AI is making CEOs delusional. Like it's allowing for people to build super fast and to create stuff that no one really needs. But since it's so fast to start building things, it's so easy to get lost into it as well. And that really landed pretty well with me because I think in the beginning I really did use AI for like building stuff, like create funnels and start new marketing things. Whereas now I've started using it more as like my, let's call it chief of staff, like the handler idea that we were talking about a couple of weeks back. That's basically how I'm using AI today. Like, have you incorporated AI whatsoever in business?
Right, corporate AI. I mean, yes and no. I feel like I have gone through phases. I've gone into that delusion hole that Jonathan Courtney talked about at different points in time. And then I've like gone through months where I like actually have very intentionally gone away from AI entirely. And like now I'm kind of entering a phase into where we're using it again. I think, yeah, I don't know, in different way. It just depends, like, is the answer. I think that in a weird way, I'm more interested in the areas where I'm not willing to use AI than the areas where I am, I guess, if that makes any sense. And I think the thing that I've been the most confident, or like the thing that I've learned the most through using AI is the number one thing that I want to make sure I'm not delegating to AI is like my judgment, if that makes any sense. And that's the thing that I see like a lot of founders doing that with. So I think I'm trying to figure out how to like, but it's so easy to do. Like when I start using AI again, like it's so easy to suddenly realize like, oh, I'm like asking it to like make a decision for me that it can't make for me. So like I'm trying to figure out how can I use AI to help me like execute something after I've decided on the right path to go without like bringing AI in to help me actually decide the path or like delegate my judgment to it. So I think I'm like figuring out my relationship with AI and how to use it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Maybe before we jump further into the full AI loophole, I didn't really introduce what you're doing in life right now. So we could just skip it, or I could give you like a little two lines to just say what are you doing right now, or like where are you coming from professionally?
Where am I coming from? So my background is all sales and marketing and like tech companies. Started out in like higher ed tech and then like D2C ecom, like attribution tech. And that was sales and marketing. When I decided to go off on my own and do all my own founder stuff, I'm working on a product stuff. I think my LinkedIn says like making art with my friends, DM me to collab, figuring it out. That's the honest truth is like I know more about where I'm coming from professionally than what I'm doing. I'm kind of just riding a wave and figuring it out. Very early stage, like we're experimenting. We have been experimenting with different things, but we're in the idea stage. So it's that stage where it's pre-revenue. I mean, so it's hard to talk about exactly what we're working on and that's where AI can help us, like iterating different things and trying different things and talk, like as we test that, talking to founders. We want to help founders. Too long of a thing. I hate being in this stage. The sales brook from my past knows that I should have the 2-line elevator pitch. But the founder brook also understands the struggle of being able to do that. And so hopefully as we get out of that idea stage and start to have something, one day maybe you'll invite me back and I'll have a solid 2-line pitch. But the truth is that I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just like figuring it out at the moment, if that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense, and I think it's the rough stage that every founder has to go through. It's the whole problem solution product market fit thing. And when looking back at it, like when looking back at starting your business and doing the right stuff in the right moment, it's so easy to tell a very structured story. But when you're on the inside, when you're doing the stuff, then it's super unclear. Like, what phase am I in right now? More so if it's pre-revenue, you have no fucking clue where it's at that stage. So makes a lot of sense what you're describing right now.
Yeah, it's like, so, I have this, if somebody's been married for like 30 years and they say that they've never fought or like gone through a rough patch, like I don't really trust them. I feel the same way about founder. Like, if anybody ever says that they like didn't go through a period like this or that they've like, I'm kind of like, I don't think you can be an entrepreneur for that long and not have a period of like where you're figuring it out. That's just not really how it works. So thank you. I agree. Thank you for validating that.
With a lot of pleasure. And I think in that stage as well, it's so easy to get fake validation from AI as well. And that really refers to what you were saying earlier. The one thing that you should never ask AI to do for you is making decisions. And this is an idea that landed with me earlier today. People don't take the time to build anything anymore because it's AI that has to do it. So that makes making decisions easier in the first place because time is not one of the constraints anymore. You can build a product or like an idea super fast. And back in the days, the decision was how much time is this going to take us? And is this time really worth the investment towards the value that we're going to get out of it along the line? Whereas now it's more like we can do it immediately and waste energy on it right now, but the time is no longer the constraint. So what is now the actual argument going to be for doing a thing or not doing a thing? And I think that's a lot of gut feeling or a lot of strategic thinking as well. And that's something that you can't outsource to AI, right?
Totally. I mean, I have two like co-founders, business partners, Jared and Nick, and we were talking about this yesterday. We actually just scheduled, like we were together in one room for 2 hours in Vancouver like 3 days ago, and I'm back home, and then I'm going back for a month to work together. And what we were talking about is, I think it's like an Abe Lincoln quote, which is like, if I was going to chop down a tree, or somebody asked me to chop down a tree, I would spend 4 hours sharpening the axe and like 1 hour chopping down the tree. And what we realized is like when the three of us are in a room together, like that's a lot of what we're doing is the 4 hours of like sharpening the axe, like the hard conversations, the decisions, the judgment, the stuff. And then like we're going to go more to the build piece of it. But I think what you said is true. I think the thing for me that I would also add is like it's gut feeling, but it's also like it's talking to people, which is like why I told the story that I told of like at the end of the day, my sales background, I think from my history bleeds into also like are you showing people the thing, like the people that you want to sell it to, are you actually showing it to them, are you actually getting their feedback? Because to your point, the AI is always like, this is a great idea, this is amazing, but the more time they like, I think it allows more time for us to validate, like, do we have co-founders, do we have people that we're working with, the customers, like the sales in me will always be there. I think like that sales background of like as much time as you can spend like talking to the customers to understand their problems in a deeper, more complex way than AI ever can. Like now we don't have the like thing to maybe keep us distracted in some ways. Like the building piece is the piece that's kind of like the autopilot where we could shut our brains off. And so without that, we have this empty space of like the ability to spend more time thinking about the strategy and making those decisions and like talking to those people. But how we choose to use that time that it like frees up, I think can like significantly increase our ability to make those judgment calls. But I think it's a lot more of like an uncomfortable place to live in. Like it's like the AI takes all the easy stuff. So like whenever I just need like a quick dopamine hit for my ADHD or something, like I don't have that because like the AI can do that. So like I get stuck in this land of like, oh my God, now I can like focus on all the hard decisions and the big things that need to get made. But that's like not always easy and it looks like different, right? Like that might not be sitting at my computer for 8 hours. That might be going for a walk, calling a friend, like doing this stuff that I see on the back of your wall and this and that stuff is not as clear cut and dry, and that's the stuff that AI can't do. So it like puts us in, I think it will really change the way that like our days and our like working styles work, if that makes any sense. Sorry,
100%. And
go.
it's such an ADHD thing to do as well. And I think, I mean, jumping into the ADHD part as well, when it comes to executing stuff, or like when it comes to actual progress, I think right now people are confusing I'm doing something, I am producing, I am moving in a way, and they confuse it with progress because building shit with AI and putting stuff out there is not doing anything. And I think that's a quote that Jonathan talked about earlier this week. If it's not adding to your sales or if it's not helping growing your company, is anything happening then? Or is it just busy work to give yourself instant gratification from doing something? And I mean, I've fallen into the trap. I built an assessment a couple of weeks back. It has not yet done anything, but still it looks nice and it's working. Like there's people moving through it, but still no one really signed up for an actual call with me. So at the end of the day, what are we doing? Are we jumping into this loophole of just endless building and endless doing, but not really delivering anything? And I see a lot of ADHD founders that I know, and let me be honest about this one. All of the founders that I know have ADHD or like some kind of version of it because it fits the brain, I guess, and the job as well. And most of them are like, oh shit, this Cloud Go thing is really doing a lot for me. I've been building, 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 but they're not getting any closer to their goal. It's just creating stuff to get the dopamine hit as like an evasion tool to not have to do the actual hard stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know what you were doing before you were a founder. I mean, something that's coming to my head that I'm realizing is like, I think I agree with what you said about I've seen neurodivergent to be a common theme with founders. I think that it's interesting because what I notice with different founders is some founders really love their product, which I think is like amazing. I think my sales background has also like the piece that I love is the people that my product helps. And so like I think that there's cons to that of like I've basically been working on a business for a year and a half. I have no product. Like all I've done is spend time like learning those people. So there's an operational deficiency, which is like why I have found some of like the co-founders that I've had, and like either way. But I think that balance of like if you are the founder that is like technical and like loves the product and loves the systems and like loves the processes, it creates this kind of like hole that you can get stuck in and like not pick your head up and remember like, oh, the value of like the value is the problem that it solves, and that's the sales piece of it, and that's like the piece where I like to spend as much of my time as I possibly can. Like ChatGPT can't talk to customers, like it can't actually see and hear in the same way that we can. So I think it will like evolve, I guess, that founder's role of like the way of whatever they're able to do. I don't know if that makes any sense at all, but that's kind of I think my sales background maybe informs even the way that I use AI as you talk more than I even realize it, because like the approach of which I'm going from is like never help me build this thing or how can I build this thing. Like even as I think about the ways that I type with AI, it's like, can you help me build this customer persona like profile matrix? Like I want to understand like this a founder that's from in $0 to $5 million range working on this type of business, what are like their main pains, fears, and motivations, and like understanding and kind of like profiling my like ICP, figuring out like research for conferences that I can go to. So like even the way that we're all using it is very different. It's kind of an amplification of our own skills, but if it's skills that we're missing, like for me, some of it is the product building, then that's not the direction that we're going to use it in. So like it's limited, and what you put in is what you get out, and like we are going to be biased in what we're putting in as well. So I think like that's like watching Jared and Nick, my co-founders, use AI. Like we're all three using it in different ways, so it's kind of like we have six people in the room because like they're going to prompt it a different way, and I'm going to prompt it and so like even AI and the way that we're using it is different. It's not like we're all having the same experience or the AI is the same based on that. It's going to confirm our own. I think Jonathan Courtney put it well, like our own opinions and things as well. So yeah, I think it's I don't know.
And how do you think that in like a perfect world where everyone would use AI for the better and not get lost in um, the whole, yeah, I love you, dear product, and you're gonna talk to my mouth and stuff like that. In a perfect world where people would use AI in the way that it could actually help their business, how do you think that would work for a founder? That's a tough one, isn't it?
Well, okay, I'm gonna start by acknowledging that I'm like limited and I'm biased. And I like probably have real feelings around this. I'm gonna say a perfect like Brooke's perfect world because I don't think I'm qualified to know enough holistically and I might change my opinion tomorrow. So if I preface with that, like this sounds really silly and simple, but I think that when people care more about people than the AI. And like what I mean by that is like something that honestly scares me is like hearing founders like I think what I noticed pre AI even something that seems to be very true about the experience of being a founder is it's very lonely. It's very isolating. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of self-doubt. Like there's so many things that are happening. And I think that my biggest fear would be that we would put AI on the pedestal and we would forget that like it's the founders that are the magic. And so if the AI's job is to serve the founders and to help the founders make better decisions and to help the founders connect with other founders and other co-founders and other team, to me the worst thing would be that we would like AI would become above the founder and it would be making the decisions and it would be further isolating founders, like people that are already very isolated now, instead of going out to a business conference or going to coffee, finding somebody that's like been a founder for 20 years and asking them, how would you do this? We just think that it can replace people entirely. And so like that would be the thing that like I mean it's a little bit more meta maybe than like the question you were driving at, but I would say that that's like my biggest fear is that founders become more isolated and more lonely and that we're not using it to help solve those core problems of what that like experience is. And so what that looks like, the how, I don't know that I have an answer to that, but like I want people to talk about Ruben the same way that they talk about AI. Like, so it's not just, oh my God, AI is amazing. It's like, oh my God, Ruben's amazing. Like he has found this problem in the market and he has this like position and this opinion and this understanding. It's such a complex thing. And we can use AI to help him execute his idea and figure out how to solve this problem. But if we're getting more excited about the AI than like the problems, the solutions, the founders and the customers, at the end of the day, economics is still people buying things from people. And so I think like keeping people the core thing is the most important in my mind. What are your thoughts on that? I don't know. I don't know if that's right. It's just what came to my brain as you.
That makes so much sense. And I think what you described there sounds to me as it's as a human, it's not always easy to find your posse or like to find your community, to find people to bounce ideas off of. And it's also pretty hard to get people that will challenge you or that will think about asking you the difficult questions. Whereas, so that's a hard position to find yourself in or like to move yourself into. And nowadays we have this tool that is always present, always has an answer, even will hallucinate when needed to just give you an answer. And it makes it way easier to like give you the feeling of reciprocity within a conversation. It's not going to challenge your thoughts that much, but it's going to validate a lot of the stuff that you say. And I think that's what's happening and been happening is people just talking to AI and forgetting that there's a whole world out there with validation with other people to talk to. And I really relate to this as well, because I think last year, over the period of June to let's say September, October, I was living my AI life. I didn't get into contact with other founders, which is basically my customer. I help founders that are growing their business to become less of a bottleneck in their own business. Like, I got it till this point. How will I get it further? That's the job that I do. And I was seeing none of that people. None of the ones that I was talking with were that type of person, because I was constantly talking to AI, validating with AI. And then you get like a flawed system because it never has seen any outside light or like any outside opinion. So I think, I mean, what I make from the things that you were saying is, how can we support founders in the job that they are supposed to be doing, and not outsourcing the stuff that is hard for them. And I think that's maybe the clue in there as well, or like the little key to unlock the box. It's about doing the hard stuff, and it's about doing the hard stuff right. And using AI makes it look like you can skip the hard stuff and just outsource it to AI. But that's not the hard stuff. Then it gets the easy stuff, and then it completely loses its value. So yeah, I heavily relate to not using AI as like your main contact person. And I would also invite anyone listening to this podcast to, yeah, let's use AI like as a little sparring partner for a specific project or like an idea, but let's not outsource our efforts to get into contact with other people completely to AI, right?
Totally. Yeah, God, you got my brain spinning on a few different. This is, I mean, I'm passionate about this like element of it. Like that's exactly it. I run this group called like 1% Founders on Thursdays. I ran it for about a year and a half, and I mean, honestly, it was like group therapy for founders. Like that's just the best way to describe it. But I remember like about 7 months ago, like one of the things that came up was like the founder had like the problem that the founder had brought up was like they had past co-founders and that didn't like work out, and they wanted a team, but they were kind of like struggling to figure out like how to find that right team. And there was like some PTSD around like the past co-founder experience. And like one of the questions that got asked was, how does somebody build trust with you? And the reply, like this was like a big moment that stands out in my head, like as this AI stuff has rolled out. But what I remember the reply of that founder saying was, um, me and ChatGPT are working on that. And like that was like one of the first signals to me that was like scary. ChatGPT shouldn't be deciding how people build trust with you. Like that, that's like the type of thing. So like to your point of what you said of, it's like almost what AI does. It takes all the easy work, and now our job's the hard stuff all day, every day. So now our job is to figure out like, how do we make sure these founders have friends? How do we make sure these founders have business advisors? How do we make sure like they're eating, they're sleeping, like these hard decisions, like they're not trapped in this echo chamber. Like now their jobs become more hard. There's not that easy stuff to do. And so there's all these other support mechanisms and ways of like, okay, we can build and execute the thing quick, but now our jobs are actually becoming harder. Like all of the hard stuff is the stuff that we're gonna like be working on all day, every day. And so does that look different? Should founders used to work 100 hours a day, right? Like, can you really work 12 hours a day and that kind of stuff? Like the way that we used to, you can do 12 hours a day of like the mind, like some of the mind, but now AI is taking that. So like, is it going to be 3 hours in the morning with a break and like, are we going to change like literally at the work days? Are we going to change the environments? Should they be working from home all day, every day? Like, right. Like, I think there's so many outside things that we'll have to figure out as well as a result of AI actually taking a lot of the easiest work.
Exactly. And also a lot of the human work as well. And I think that's a part that a lot of founders just forget. And I see a lot of these like fake founder stories. We started from our garage, stuff like that. Cool. But still, you need to get out. You need to get to the outside world. You need to get into contact with other people, with other founders, with other people to talk to. Just to make sure that whatever you're doing is viable and valuable in any way possible. And I think looking back at how I was using AI, I was using it to do everything for me. Like I would just start a conversation and just be like, I need to do this, do it for me. And it wouldn't challenge me. It wouldn't ask, is this the right thing to do? Should we even be doing this? And because it's so easy to get it done, you're putting more value to just getting it done than putting value to, are we doing this right? And that's my personal change, or at least that's how I stopped using AI. Right now, by the way, I'm fully deep dived into Anthropic, and it's Cloud Code that I'm using right now most. And the way that I set it up right now is just that it can help me do stuff that I really fucking hate. Like, for example, finance stuff. I really don't like it. I think no one really likes looking into all of the online tools that you have, downloading the little receipts to make sure that they are in your accounting system. So right now, I just have Cloud Code do that for me. That's the easy thing. But whenever it gets to decisions being made or creating the actual plan, that's where I come in, because it's my gut that is building this business. It's my brain that is building this business, and it's other people that are influencing it. It should never be AI.
Yeah. Who do you who are the people in your life like that you go to like when you do have those types of hard decisions? Like where do you go for outside advice? Like do you have those people? I mean, I'm curious like how you think of that, like those harder problems or questions that you can't go to with AI, like when you're thinking about solving those for yourself and your business, what's your process, I guess, or do you have those types of people?
Actually, I do. And now, while you were asking the question, I just realized something that really changed for me. When I was sitting on a decision or like sitting on an idea, I think last year and like the last period of time, I would just talk to AI first to clarify it and only then go to another person. Now I do it the other way around. Now I call my co-founder. His name is Dennis. He's a non-operational founder. So basically he has a part of the company and he's like my sounding board. I can bounce ideas off of him. I think if you would see the call logs that we have, I probably talk to him more than he talks to his wife. I'm guessing. But whatever happens or whatever moment arrives when I need bouncing of ideas, I just step to him and I start babbling it all out. I just start this entire stream of words and then just see what happens in the end. And he can like challenge me. And it's usually the output of that conversation that I then use with AI. Either like in the end, I'm gonna input it into AI just to like lock the conversation, or like to have like a track of it, to have a document of it.
A
But I
record, yeah.
first, yeah, a record indeed, and it's just human first. Step to Dennis first, talk to him about it. If it's about client stuff, I would call clients. I would call current clients like, yo, I have this idea. I know that you have been in this process with me. How would that feel for you? And then if I get their feedback, only then will I like import it into AI. So it's always human first.
Interesting. Yeah, that makes total sense. Hmm.
And I think it's such a rare thing to have a person like that as well. And I mean, I try at least to be as grateful, like as verbally grateful as possible for the job that he's doing, because it's more than just a co-founder. He's a very good friend of mine as well. We can talk about literally anything. There is nothing in between us that could never be talked about. And I'm super grateful of just having this person that you can bounce anything off. And also know that if I'm asking him something that he doesn't really know the answer to, he's just going to tell me to talk to an expert. If I'm thinking about a new funnel, for example, into an event that I would be doing, he would just say, yo, that's not my market. Go to AJ and Smart. They know everything about this. Go talk to them. Whereas if you would ask this question to AI, AI would just be like, oh, sure, yeah, I've got an answer, and then hallucinate.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fun. Something I realized as you talked about that is like, I think for me, the hardest time, like, to not go to AI and delegate those decisions. Like, I have some of those people in my life too. I have co founders, I've had business advisors and coaches at different points and things. And so if I have that person to go to first, it's easy for me to do that and then take it to AI. But sometimes there's something where I need that and I don't really have the right person in my life or I don't really know them yet. And so it takes like it's a lot more friction or like it feels overwhelming. Like, how do I go find that? Who do I ask? Like, and that is the time where I find like catch myself being like, fuck it, I'll just put it into AI. Like, and so I think that like that is the point where it's the hardest not to delegate those types of decisions is sometimes where that outside person or that right outside like expert is missing. I don't know that person. There's not somebody that like that I know that has that exact same experience. And so I don't know what that like gap is or, you know, how to solve that necessarily. But I do find that that's the place where like when I catch myself falling back into that loop, it's usually not that I would actually prefer to go to the AI over the person. It's just that like I don't know how to find the right person. So I think it feels like AI is my only option. And then sometimes that's where I'm using it, maybe in the quote, like wrong ways the most often. Um, so I didn't realize that till you were talking about that either. It's like my natural inclination is also to go to a person if I have that person. I think the temptation exists to not go to that person when that person doesn't exist. And I think that's true for a lot of founders as well. So yeah, figuring out also how to have better, I think maybe support networks. It's stuff like what we're doing here, right? Like helping other founders out and like giving founders more access to different people and different experts that are willing to help them would help them a lot more than if they don't have anybody. Then yeah, you know, sometimes ChatGPT might know a little more than what you know about a thing, but that doesn't mean it knows as much as a person in that thing would do. And so that gap is a gap that I think people naturally want to fill with AI, because there's not another solution there, but it's almost like filling it is like that's like the band-aid over a bullet hole type thing. Of like like it makes you feel better in the moment because you're like, oh yeah, great, this is the plan, but then you realize like there's a huge gap. It's actually like almost covered a hole that you don't want to be covered because it's not really covered. And so it creates this like false illusion or sense of it being solved when it's not really solved. And that is something I don't know how to solve at all. Is like, yeah, like sometimes I just need more people or more people to like that can help me think about things in different ways, but people are busy and people don't have time and like not that many people are going through the same experience that I am. So it takes like a lot of willpower or like discipline to be like, okay, I don't know how to solve it. I don't know anybody that can help me solve it. And I know that AI can't help me solve it. And like just having to sit with that is like very, very uncomfortable. And that's like, honestly, like I think probably one of my biggest like challenges as I think about it.
Makes a lot of sense. And this sparked like the idea of how we value decisions and how we value our own work that we do. Like if, let's say, 20 years ago, you would have to make a decision, and is it 20 years ago since we had a phone? I have no clue. Let's say 1990s. You would have to make a decision and there's no one around. You would sit with that decision, you would let it grow on you a little until you would find an expert to talk to. But this whole time to wait for that decision to be made also gives it a sort of value. And nowadays we can just prompt it into AI. AI gives us an answer, and that completely devaluates the value of the work that has been done as well. Because nothing is valuable anymore, because nothing costs us time. And I think that lead or like that seeps into the other thing that I was talking about or like thinking about this week is how will we value work and how will we value anything in the future if we're talking AI can set up a website within minutes and it looks okay enough to go live and it looks copy wise, it's okay enough to do anything. How are we going to value work if time is not going to be the most common denominator to value time anymore? Like, I really do wonder about that one because I think making decisions, building stuff usually takes time. And over time, things generate value for you. So I really do wonder, and I have no clue what it's going to be like, but I really do wonder what time and value or like how that
I have a
relationship is going to
hypothesis.
shoot. I want to
Like,
hear it.
so I might be totally wrong, but my hypothesis is, and I'll give you an analogy. So you know how the analogy would be you have like the New York Times and you have like journalism sources, right? And then you have like TikTok and Instagram and all that. And yes, like people do consume their news from Instagram and TikTok and social media. Like that has changed. However, the difference between reading something from the New York Times and watching a TikTok video has to do with like standards, like credibility, quality of information. A journalist is required to source check, Like, you know that it's like to post on TikTok, anybody can have an idea and an opinion. You have no idea what their background is, right? You have no idea. You doesn't mean you can't find good information on there. Sure. Same thing with ChatGPT. But I think that what will become valued more than time is the quality of information, like some version of like credibility and source of like ChatGPT. It's synthetic information. It is not from first hand experience. It's crawling the internet, it's synthesizing, and it's pattern matching, which allows it to do certain things well, especially things that we know a lot about. But things that we don't know a lot about, like, I think that like credibility, and that like actual like quality of like, I think information, I don't know what that will look like exactly, but my hypothesis would be that it would be something to do with, if you can give me an answer that is more quality, more credible, like from 5 people that have done the thing, fact checked, source checked, that's a lot more valuable than something that is coming from ChatGPT. So maybe it's not as much like, the time that it takes me to do a thing, but firsthand lived experience of like within 30 seconds, I can give a better like insight or better quality of information. It doesn't matter how long that takes me. Maybe it's like an accumulation of my whole life, but that the actual, it's kind of like the what you know piece. And the more, yeah, the more detailed that information is, rather than just like, as the chat and all these things are just these pattern matching, like sure they can do, but what about the anomalies? Like, what about the people that know the thing of the thing that every time this thing happens? Like, I think that type of like nuanced, contextualized, unique firsthand experience, and something to do with like trust, quality, and credibility. Because not everything you read is right. Like, not everything ChatGPT says is right. And like when it comes to sales, something that I know something about, it's really obvious. But if it's a topic that I don't know something as much about, or if I didn't know as much about sales, I wouldn't know that ChatGPT wasn't giving me right information. And so that ability to know like what is right, what is wrong, and like how to apply it, because ChatGPT also can't always apply it for you. Sure, if it's coding for you, but if you're trying to go into a meeting with a co-founder, it can give you insights, but it can't tell you, you know, watch their behavior. And if they're like tapping their hand or whatever, they're nervous. Like, watch for these behavior cues and do that, right? Like, so these like this nuance, this like context is like, I think in some ways the things that will be valued more than our time. I don't know. What do you think on that? Do you think it's crazy? What's your
It makes a lot of
hypothesis? What do you think of this hypothesis?
it makes a lot of sense, and it really relates to how I see it as well. I think in the future, like I feel like now there's this background song playing, and like there's this big scene moving in the future, a place, planet. Anyway, so I think going forward, what will bear more value to me is going to be analog stuff. Is going to be the actual human stuff, and I think this has been said before, but I think real life physical experiences will get way more value than just the digital intangible stuff. Because when using AI and when talking to a large language model, etc., the only thing it does is it gives you the most logical answer. So it's just going to give you patterns that were already there. Whereas, and I just realized already there, haha, funny because of the retweet, no one will know what I'm talking about, but this is an inside joke.
Emergent.
Emergent indeed. When it comes to patterns and LLMs, they only see patterns that were already there, whereas people can see stuff that was never brought into connection with each other. For example, the job that I'm doing is I'm basically a relationship therapist for founders and their management teams to make sure that they're aligned, etc., etc. That's a thing that combines strategy and psychology within the room. That's a thing that ChatGPT can do. Simple because it's a connection that has never been made before, and it's an average that was never created before. And I think that's what's going to be more valuable in the future, is going to be the actual creating of things, the actual being in a room with other people. The analog stuff is going to become way more valuable than the like the digital stuff. And that also leads me to believe that physical jobs like labor will probably become the higher paying jobs in the future, I'm guessing. Because what would you need a lawyer for if you can just send two ChatGPTs in the room, right? And everyone is going to kill me for saying this, but I think that's the whole point. There's a lot of stuff that we can outsource, but the only thing that we can't outsource is being a human that is creative and that has new ideas on certain stuff.
You know, one of the professions, I'm totally agreeing with you and just like getting excited and yes anding that I think we're in such a deficit of that we are going to need so much more of therapists. I think that is an industry that is so like, that will boom. Like ChatGPT can't do that. People are trying to use it for that, but like I actually think like I could see that, like I don't know what that looks like, but the salary, like that skill, that need, like okay, now ChatGPT is doing all this like work for us during the day, like the labor goes down, our time goes down, we have more time, we're making harder decisions. Like I think more and more people that are doing other things, I think we're going to see like a huge influx of that. So I'm agreeing with like live events, therapists, like anybody that has those kinds of skills that take like that human nuance and context, you know, not that's like how a computer works anymore. Like ChatGPT can start to, AI in general can start to figure that out, but we still don't know all that much about our own brains. Like we still don't know all that much about people. Like there's been such little research done into like ADHD compared to AI. You know, how much research has been done into AI compared to ADHD or like women and men's health or like different brain systems and like how our brains actually work and why they work that way. Like I have this thing that they call aphantasia where I can't see pictures in my brain. We don't know why still. Like it's going to take a human figuring out like why do humans have these different cognitive functions and how do our brains actually work and how do people actually work and relationships with people. Like ChatGPT can't do that. So I think we might see new different types of jobs emerge, right? Too, of like more specialized type like therapists in different contexts where it's not just like a personal at home thing, but like in different business contexts even as well. I don't know what that would look like. But yeah, I totally like vibe with what you're saying and think that there will be some type of, it's like after the industrial revolution, like after Ford and after factory lines, like we went through this renaissance period where you have like all these like polymaths and like painters and like real art, right? Like after the fact, I think there will be some version of like history repeats itself where we will see a reflux back to yeah different. I think, you know, if AI can generate a picture of a city in Belgium for you really quickly and anybody can do that with AI, well then that AI generated one becomes a lot less valuable than a firsthand perspective of somebody that painted it or that somebody that took a picture of it. Like I think that some of that type of stuff, like analog stuff, will have a lot more value because the AI swap the like if it can produce it, it's like basic supply and demand, right? Like if it's unlimited supply, demand will go down. If anybody can generate it, the demand for the thing will go down, and the stuff that not anybody can do, so the demand for the supply of like the real authentic stuff will absolutely start to go up in value.
100%. And that's the main reason why looking at a picture of the Eiffel Tower on Google Images is not the same as watching it real life.
Mic
And
drop.
isn't that just, you know, the right moment to just stop this podcast? I'm gonna be super honest. I have nothing to sell today. I have nothing to point towards. The only thing that I'm gonna just float out there at the end of this recording is I am thinking about getting into my diagnostics live. So the main thing that I do with other founders is diagnose whatever the hell is going on within their business or within themselves. And I was thinking about doing it live on the podcast. And I'm starting to fiddle with that idea again, but more on that soon. And maybe, Brooke, maybe I'm going to do it with you in the future. Who knows?
I'd be in. If we're gonna, okay, can I'll sell one thing? It's not for me though. What I think also selling, I'm in, Ruben, but the other thing is, I think the takeaway from this call is if you're a founder that's listening, instead of asking ChatGPT the next time you want to make a judgment call, like call a friend, call a business advisor, call a partner. Like that would be the action that I would sell. not for my own benefit, I guess, but I think that that message, and that's me saying yes to Ruben's next thing. It's a little bit scary for me to say yes. It'd be easier in my room alone on ChatGPT, and I'm a little nervous to do it, but I'll say yes if other listeners agree to call a friend or delegate a decision to ChatGPT or to a friend instead of ChatGPT as well. So that's my ending, if that's okay.
That's the deal. So the deal is, instead of asking ChatGPT a question, invite one person to go have a drink with, to go have a conversation with, and ask them about your decision. Talk to them instead of AI. Good one. Thanks for being here, Brooke. I really
Thanks
enjoyed
for
this.
having me. Me too. Yeah.
See you next time.